Okay, so we're talking about the build-up to the League Cup final for Celtic. And obviously Celtic have played in 28 League Cup finals so far, winning 14 and losing 14. So we're talking to Hugh here, who's had the pleasure, and sometimes a lot of pain, of being at 26 of the 28 cup finals. But we'll start with two that he missed. Hugh, even though you weren't at the games, do you have any memories of obviously it was the Partick Thistle Cup final in 1956-57, and then the small manner of the final the following year?
Well, the first game against the Thistle, I just wasn't interested in football at all then, so I don't think I even bothered. And I just remember that, I'm sure the 7-1 game, I just remember my dad listening on the radio, and there was an illegal bookies just in the wee street facing us, and my dad would come out, I don't know how many times, running out, that's another goal, and I'm sure he had a really good night that night, I just remember. But for some reason or other, my dad didn't like Rangers games, so he just never went to them. And that's I don't have great recollections of the two games at all.
Okay, so that's that. And then from there on, you started going to the games yourself. But Celtic being Celtic, it was quite a while until we were back in the League Cup final. In fact, it was a 1964-65 season. A season that would eventually turn out to be quite a good one, and one that turned out. But we played Rangers and we lost 2-1. Do you have many memories of that final?
I just remember the League Cup was always a cup. We just never seemed to have any luck there. In the first sort of 4 or 5 years that I supported Celtic, in those days you played the League of 6 games, and Celtic just never qualified. A couple of times we came very close to it, but then this year we did qualify, and I think it was Rangers in the final. I don't have a great recollection in that one. I just remember that I think we probably, the start of some of the good players were there, but I wouldn't sort of say who was playing, because sometimes you get games mixed up. I remember Rangers won 2-1, which then ran into after that we were in it for the next, was it 14?
I think it was from there all the way through until,
which was a world record of
77,
78. I mean, as I say, obviously they beat the Thistle, and then they beat Rangers, and then it came up to Rangers again, and at that time Rangers were just the dominant force in Scottish football. They'd all the best players. Celtic had probably the emergence of the Lisbon Lions, but they didn't have probably proper management, and it was just sort of a shown through. I mean, I think, if I remember, the 2-1 game, it was quite close, but then we came to the next 2 years where we won it, especially the one, I think John Hughes got 2 penalties, and I mean, people couldn't believe in those days, against Rangers we get penalties, but I think we get 2, plus the fact I think they were very, very close together as well. I think Celtic went into a 2-0 league, but I just remember again, I'm very, very forgetful of in some games who was in goal. I just remember, I think Rangers come onto a game late on, I think especially the 2-1 game, but we held them out. I don't know if it was Sean Fallon, I just remember, I think the goalkeeper had a good game in it, a great game in that, some good saves, and that took us up to sort of a Lisbon Lions sort of a period, the first 2 of that, right? And then it was up to, was it Dundee?
I think, yep. So 67-68 we bet Dundee 5-3.
Yeah.
And the following season we bet Hibs 6-2. Then I think the following season after that was the last one we won in a while.
St Johnstone.
St Johnstone, was it Perthy Old?
I mean, the Dundee game was just a great football game. I think they did quite a good team at that time. I think we won 5-3. I think it was sandwiched in between playing Racing at home and then them flying out to Argentina. Because I remember, I think there was something like no football for about, I don't know, it was 10 days. The time Celtic flew out, and then of course they played their second game as well. So the League Cup final was sort of a sandwiched in, and it was a sort of an afterthought, because it was sandwiched between probably 2 of the biggest club games in the world. But it was a great football game, and I just remember that one. The following, that was it Hibs?
67-68 was Dundee, and then 68-69 was Hibs 6-2.
The Hibs game was a very strange one. The fact that it was supposed to be playing in October, and I think I was supposed to be going to a wedding. I think my sister was getting married that Saturday, and I was really, really annoyed that the game was on the Saturday, and there was no way I was going to get out it. And then there was a major fire at Hampden.
Is it you?
I get the blame for that. And then I remember that so Celtic played Morton in a rearranged, or the original league game that day, so what I did was I missed a game at Morton, and then that was the thing where Celtic lifted all 3 trophies, I think, within, again, don't quote me, but I think possibly in about a 6-week period, because we won it in April. I think it was like April the 5th, we won the league roughly within that area, and then a couple of weeks later we thrashed the Rangers 4-0 in the final. So I mean, that was really a tremendous spell. The St Johnstone game was a sort of an anticlimax. St Johnstone made a bit of a game of it. I don't think it was a brilliant game, but it was very, very close. I think it was, if I remember rightly, the Celtic, I think it was Chalmers that day with a broken leg, but I don't know if it was a Chalmers shot off the bar or something, and I think Bertie Hall scored, and it was a 1-0. It wasn't a brilliant game, but it was a brilliant game in the fact that we had won.
Were we even at that time? Was the League Cup, was it taken seriously, or was it becoming an afterthought?
It was very, very serious. No, in those days, every tournament, even you get Gloucester Cup finals, because I think about the same era, 1970. I remember Celtic playing Rangers at Hampden in a Gloucester Cup game, and Celtic were a dominant force at that time. They sort of played a lot of reserve players, and the thrashed Rangers 3-1, and you could get anything for 60 to 80,000. And so the ones as if the games were taken very, and then you also run into the spell after that like Dryborough Cup games as well. But you used to get 40 and 50,000. But that takes us up to
70-71, which then took us on to the run where we lost 4 League Cup finals in a row. We lost 1-0 to Rangers. Obviously the famous Partick Thistle game, we lost 2-1 to Hibs and then 1-0 to Dundee. I mean, what were they games like?
The one against the Rangers was, I always remember it was this young boy that they were all boasting about, Derek Johnson, and it was, I don't think Rangers, we wrote Rangers off at that time, and it was just I always just remember the two of them going up for a clash of heads, and the next thing is that the ball comes off Johnson's head and net, and that was it. I don't know, there's something just about Celtic and League Cup finals. I mean, you got into the Thistle game, and the Thistle game was just something different. Thistle probably had 4 shots in the first half, and they scored with every one of them. Celtic probably with 2 or 3. I think with 2 or 3, I don't remember the name of Johnson got injured early on in that game. Bill McNeil was missing. At that time Celtic had a lot of good players as well, but it was just, Thistle probably will never play that in their life again, because before and after that, every time you seem to play Thistle, we used to thrash them. But that one, it just, even at half time, we could not believe, I think it was 4-0. And Celtic, rattle and rough had quite a few stalks, but it was just one of these games that just wouldn't go for Celtic. I don't know, sometimes you wondered if they were taking bribes or things, because there's certain games they just didn't, what the odds in Thistle won on that day, and especially with a score like that.
Like to add allegedly to that, we weren't accusing anyone of taking bribes, but yes.
It was just a total shock, wasn't the Thistle, and that takes us on to...
after that, it was in Hibernian, 72-73, and we lost 2-1.
I think, again, Hibs had the makings of a good team in those days. The Turnbull, and it was, they used to run us close in the league, and they always sort of had great games. So sometimes just pure finishing with Celtic, but again, that was, and I think it was at Aberdeen the next year.
The following year was the Dundee one, and I think that was quite a strange game as well, wasn't it?
Oh, the Dundee one, that was because of the miners' strike, and it was played December, and it was a horrible it was a sleety sort of a heavy rain, and it was really, really heavy rain, and I think it was played like 1 o'clock.
Just looking at the attendance, the average of attendance around day times was about 70,000 for the League Cup finals. A couple of the Rangers ones we got over 100,000, and the attendance for the Dundee game with the betters was 27,924.
It was just a horrible game, and again it was just Dundee got lucky. I think it was one decent shot, and that was it. And I don't know, it was apathy for the Celtic players, but it was just a very, very poor performance. I remember that one.
So after that, we kind of, after losing 4 finals in a row, we bounced back. And that was the Hibs final in 6-3.
Oh, it was another one of these Dixie Dean's games. I think, if I remember rightly, if that's the one, again you get confused. You've seen that many finals. I don't know if they come back into the game, whether they equalise. It was sort of a close for a while, but Celtic just sort of opened up, and it's another one of these Dixie Dean's. Is another tremendous game. If that's the one I'm thinking of, the 3 goals. I know we also get 3 in the Scottish Cup final as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And after that, we went on to lose the next 3 finals. Again, there was the 1-0 to Rangers, and then 2-1 defeats after extra time to Aberdeen and Rangers. And again, I mean, so you're talking about, that was 75, 76, through to 77, 78. I mean, could you see, was there a definite downturn in the Celtic team?
Well, as soon as Steen, just before Steen got hurt in the car crash, the team started deteriorating. I don't know whether there was split up with all the Lisbon Lions, and then the sort of unrest with Davy Hay and maybe Dalglish and things, all wanting more money going to England. Whether you lose them, and I mean, every team has its day as well, but we just seem to struggle for quite a wee while. And then, as I say, it's with Steen and Sean Fallon took over for a while, and Steen, I mean, Bob McNeil said that when he took over, that allegedly that Jock Steen left the team in a very, very poor, whether it was through management no giving money, but it was very, very poor, and we started to sort of slip down the league a wee bit, and that's when I started getting this feeling about the League Cup, and it just wasn't our tournament, because I've seen a couple of poor Scottish Cup finals and we've won, but in the League Cup, just end-to-end stuff, but no finishing.
But the time of that run, I mean, obviously you've been going to the finals yourself quite a bit. But I think was it the Aberdeen game was the first game the first cup final your eldest son.
Yeah.
How did that impact on you for finals, and how did you take defeat?
Well, we've got doing with cup finals, we try and maybe get stand seats, so it was always, in those days it was a luxury going to the stand, and if I remember rightly, I think the Aberdeen was played in a very, very poor conditions, heavy rain. Again, you're running into a very good Aberdeen team, but at the same time, as I say, Celtic just on the day just didn't perform. I enjoy. I mean, probably all the other previous finals, I was probably on the terracing. And you talk about maybe having to get 2 tickets for the stand. Saying that, possibly in those days as well, I think even the stand you could lift children over. So
certainly not that for this year's cup final.
No.